Hello everyone, myself Dr. Jyoti D. Gulwani with your subject Research Methodology 1. Now today we are going to learn the comparison between laboratory experiment and field experiment. That is, we have to learn the difference between this laboratory experiment and field experiment. Now under that, point number 1, what is the environment of laboratory experiment and field experiment? If we talk about the laboratory experiment, then a laboratory experiment is an artificial one which the researcher constructs according to the desired condition for a specific experiment. ये एक artificial setting होता है जो कौन वहाँ पे डिज़ाइन करता है. It is designed by the main researcher and he or she design it according to their condition. Then what is field experiment? So field experiment actually is a actual market condition. So you can say that the environment is totally realistic environment. Here you need not to create any artificial environment. So here laboratory environment is a artificial environment while field experiment is a realistic environment. Then point number 2 is control. Now in a laboratory experiment, it offers a higher degree of control because it mainly experiment is carefully monitored by the researcher and he or she is going to only ask to the people to whom they want to invite in that particular environment. जिनके ऊपर उनको एनालिसिस करना है या तो जिनके ऊपर रिसर्च करना है उनको ही वो इनवाइट करेंगे. तो हायर डिग्री ऑफ कंट्रोल इज देयर इन लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट while the degree of control is low in the field experiment. Why? Because over there the monitoring is strict, but then to totally thing is realistic. So in realistic thing you cannot control too much the things. So control is high in the laboratory experiment while control is lesser in the field experiment. Then number 3, reactive errors means reactions की errors हैं वो किस में high होगी, how people are going to react. तो see, in laboratory experiment people are going to react artificially. Why? Because you have created everything artificially over there, so people are going to react artificially. So reactive error is high in the laboratory experiment, while in field experiment, because of the natural setting, the respondent behaving in the natural manner and no artificial condition is created. So hence you can say that reactive error is low over here. So reaction errors are higher in laboratory experiment while it is lesser in the field experiment. Then next is demand artifacts. That is demand जो वहाँ पे artificially create होती है. Demand artifacts, that means assumptions of the demand, or you can say that artificial demand which is created. तो artificial demand किस में higher होगी? Definitely in the laboratory, because again you have done artificial setting over there. So definitely the demand also going to be artificial or on the basis of assumption. So you can say that demand artifact is higher because the respondent attempt to guess the purpose of the experiment and respond accordingly. सिर्फ जो create किया है उसके accordingly ही वो लोग react करने वाले हैं. तो demand artifact is higher over there, while demand artifact is lower in the field experiment because the respondent doesn't guess the purpose of the experiment, rather than they provide the correct answers of the question. बिकॉज यहाँ पे कुछ भी आर्टिफिशियल क्रिएट नहीं किया होता है, तो वॉट एवर आर्टिफैक्ट्स आर देयर इट इज़ लोअर इन कंपेरिजन ऑफ द लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट. देन पॉइंट नंबर 5, that is time. See, time method, this method is carried out for a shorter period of time. That is, laboratory experiment is carried out for shorter period of time, while the field experiment can be carried out for the longer period of time. Now, why laboratory experiment is carried out for the shorter period of time? Because there is a artificial setting over there. वहाँ पे artificial setting और creation होता है, तो वो थोड़े ही टाइम के लिए चलाना पड़ता है. ज़्यादा टाइम के लिए रखते हैं तो खर्चा ज़्यादा होता है, एक्सपेंस आर गोइंग हायर. दैट्स वाई शॉर्टर टाइम इज कैरिड आउट इन द लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट, while more time will be carried out in the field experiment. Then point number 6, as we have learned what is internal validity. Internal validity, that you can say that accuracy. Accuracy of what? Accuracy of the changes which are done in the independent variable and its effect which is realized on the dependent variable. So here we have to check the accuracy of the changes which are done on the independent variable and result which is realized on the dependent variable. तो किस में इंटरनल वैलिडिटी हाई रहेगा? डेफिनेटली एक्यूरेसी इज गोइंग टू बी हायर और इंटरनल वैलिडिटी इज गोइंग टू बी हायर इन द लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट, बिकॉज सी दिस मेथड प्रोड्यूस द सेम रिजल्ट इफ रिपीटेड विद द सिमिलर सब्जेक्ट. आप जितनी भी बार रिपीट करोगे आपके पास 10-12 ही वहाँ पे रिप्रेजेंटेटिव होंगे, दोज हु आर गोइंग टू गिव द आंसर. तो ऑब्वियसली दे विल गिव द सिमिलर आंसर. तो एक्यूरेसी is going to be higher in the laboratory experiment, while it is low because the results vary every time when the research is being carried out on the same respondent. अभी सेम रिस्पोंडेंट अगेन एंड अगेन वो प्लेस कर वो जगह को अगर विजिट करेंगे और अलग अलग टाइम पे अलग अलग वो चीज़ें प्रेफर करते हैं, तो एक्यूरेसी यहाँ पे क्या हो जाता है? लो, बिकॉज दे डोंट एक्चुअली रिमेंबर दैट विच काइंड ऑफ आंसर दे हैड गिवन. तो इंटरनल वैलिडिटी इज हायर इन लेबोरेटरी while it is lower in the field experiment. Number 7, external validity. External validity, that is the generalization of the result. Generalization, that means the acceptance of the result. Whatever result you have generated should be accepted by the general public. General public उसको accept करनी चाहिए. तो acceptance किस में higher होगा? तो acceptance will be higher in the, you can say, in field experiment. तो external validity is low in the laboratory experiment because it is conducted in artificial environment and the ability to generalize the result is going to be lesser, while external validity is higher in the field experiment because it is conducted in the actual condition and the ability to generalize the result to the real world may be increased. नेक्स्ट, नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स. किस में नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स ज़्यादा होते हैं और किस में कम होते हैं, या तो किस में आप साइज ऑफ रिस्पोंडेंट ज़्यादा ले सकते हो. तो सी, लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट टेंड टू यूज स्मॉल नंबर ऑफ द टेस्ट यूनिट्स. तो यू कैन से दैट सैम्पल साइज इज स्मॉल ओवर हियर because you have created fully artificial setting over here, and in that artificial setting you cannot cover too much of the respondent because it will go expensive. So that's why number of units are smaller in the laboratory experiment while sample size is higher in the field experiment. Then number 9, ईज ऑफ इम्प्लीमेंटेशन. किस में इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जल्दी से या तो ईजीली हो जाता है. तो सी, ईज ऑफ इम्प्लीमेंटेशन इज़ हायर इन द लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट, क्योंकि लिमिटेड नंबर ऑफ पीपल होते हैं, तो जो भी आपको उसमें अप्लाई करना है इट कैन बी अप्लाइड ईजीली, वाइल नंबर ऑफ सैम्पल साइज इज हायर इन द field experiment. तो ease of implementation is lower over here. जल्दी से कोई भी चीज़ें implement नहीं होती हैं. Point number 10, cost. See, actually the laboratory experiment is lesser costlier. हमें लगेगा कि we are doing the artificial setting, तो artificial में तो पैसा ज़्यादा लगेगा. No, you can just by doing the arrangement or by doing the copy of a single thing, it will be lower costlier to comparison of the field experiment. See why? In field experiment you have to move from one place to another place, from one city to another city, from one state to another state, from one home to another home, है ना. आपको अलग अलग जगह पे जाके रिसर्च करना है, तो इट विल कॉस्ट मोर इन कंपेरिजन ऑफ द लेबोरेटरी सेटिंग. लेबोरेटरी में तो क्या है, एक सेटअप किया, वहाँ पे लिमिटेड नंबर्स को बुला दिया और सर्वे कर दिया, तो एक दिन में ही ख़त्म हो जाएगा, एक दिन का खर्चा लगता है. While in a field experiment it will take too much of the time as well as it will take too much expenses also. वहाँ पे खर्चा भी ज़्यादा लगता है, एक घर से दूसरे घर जाने का, एक सिटी से दूसरे सिटी तक जाने का, एंड वहाँ पे जाके अगर फिर आपको एक्सपेरिमेंट करना है तो इट इज़ मोर कॉस्टलियर. तो लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट इज़ लेसर एक्सपेंसिव while the field experiment is generally costly in comparison of the laboratory experiment. So here we are concluding with the difference of laboratory and field experiment. In next video we will go with the advantages and limitations of the field and laboratory experiment. So till then, stay tuned. Goodbye.